is kind of similar to a question that you just did on your quiz.
Oh yeah, easy.
We have angle equals half arc plus arc. Okay, because it's the crisscross one. So your angle is 80. And then one of the arcs is 90 and the other arc is x. So instead of distributing the 1/2, we can multiply by 2 and get 160 equals 90 plus x. And then if you subtract 90, you get 70. So x is 70.
It's funny because bathroom's that way.
There's bathrooms that way too.
There's bathrooms that way too.
Questions?
Yeah.
Okay, number 2. This is the one where you FOIL. So this line right here is tangent to the circle, so it makes a right angle, and we're going to use the Pythagorean theorem to find the radius, which is r. So r squared, this is like a, this is b, so plus 8 squared equals this whole thing squared. So that's going to be r plus 8 squared. So that's r squared plus 64 equals, and then we're going to FOIL this out. Oh, what did I put? 8?
8.
Ah, whoops. Yeah, it's 4.
It's 4 because.
Yeah, this is a 4. Yeah. Just kidding. So we're going to FOIL out 2 r plus 4s. So r times r is r squared.
I love foiling.
R times 4 is 4r. 4 times r is another 4r. And then 4 times 4 is 16. So the r squareds are going to cancel, because when you subtract r squared from both sides, you get nothing. And then we can combine the two 4r's here. That's going to give us 8r. Then you would probably subtract 16. Okay, so 64 minus 16, that's 48 equals 8r. And then divide. In all situations with division, you are going to give the exact answer unless it tells you to round. Okay, so this goes in evenly. If it doesn't go in evenly, you're just going to write the fraction and then simplify it. Okay, but don't do long division unless it specifically says to round. If you read the directions at the top, it says leave answers in simplest form when applicable. So that would be a situation where you get a fraction, you just leave it as simplest fraction. Okay. So for 3, it's really just like knowing the theorems. You don't really have to do a whole lot of work. So one of the theorems says that if the radii are equidistant from some chords, then this is going to be the same as this. So y is going to have to be 15. Because these are congruent chords and they're perpendicular, so they have to be the same. And then kind of going the other way, in this case, these distances are the same and perpendicular. This length right here is 2, which means this length right here is also 2.
4.
So this whole chord is 4.
That was nice and simple.
Yeah, nice and simple.
It's like a little break in our case.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
Okay, then it gets less simple. So these are the ones where you have to double or half or something. So another thing to remember too is a quadrilateral that's inside a circle will have the opposite angles supplementary. So if this is 93, then this angle is whatever adds to 93 that makes 180. Okay, so opposite angles are going to be supplementary. So that's how we'll find y and w.
Y and W.
So y is going to be whatever 180 minus 93 is, 87. And then w is kind of the same idea. So these are opposite angles. So it's 180 minus 95. So 85. So I'm just going to write those in here. This is 85. This is 87. And then you have to get creative for x. So one way you can find x is the inscribed angle 95 circumscribes this big arc. Okay, and x is part of that arc. So what you can do first is find the whole arc by doubling 95. So let's call this blue arc. It's going to be double 95, the whole thing. So what's double 95?
A number.
190.
So that's the whole blue arc. So if the whole arc is 190, what is just x?
90.
Yep. Okay, so the whole thing's 190. This piece is 100. That means x has to be 90.
So this may be a stupid question.
Wait,
But why is the never mind, that's a stupid question, figured it out.
Okay.
wait, no, why is it 90? Wouldn't it be 95?
So this arc from here all the way to here is 190. And then this little piece is 100. So this would have to be the leftover. So if this whole thing is 190 and this is just 100, then x is 190 minus 100.
Sounds about right.
Okay, I just divided 190 and it was so.
Divided.
Yeah, no, I just divided 190 to get 95.
No, you find 190 by multiplying 95 by 2. That gives you the whole thing. We just want a piece of it. So you
Okay.
subtract to find the piece. Okay, and then B is like another kind of, you have to do more than one step. So because this angle and this angle form a linear pair, we can find E by just subtracting 115 from 180 because it's a linear pair.
Oh.
So these two form a linear pair. So we'll do E is equal to 180 minus 115. So that's going to be 65. So this angle in here is 65. Then to find F, since F is the arc, you're going to double the angle to get the arc. So you're doubling 65 to get F. And you get 130. So you have to find the angle and then the arc in this particular example.
I like that.
Okay, so this is similar to your quiz. You got to do angle equals half the big arc minus the small arc. Which one is the angle? X. So that's the angle. Which one is the big arc?
160.
160.
So 160, and then which one's the small arc?
68.
There you go. So subtract 160 minus 68. And then take half of that. There you go.
We put the little degree sign, right?
Sure, yeah,
Okay. I put that on my test.
Didn't put
quiz.
that.
it's fine.
That was like, oh.
There are two ways to do 6.
Ooh, question.
Yeah.
Could one way be the little like minus thingy?
Actually, wait, I'm lying. There's not two ways. I'm thinking of a different question in which this is x. I think there's only one way.
Never mind.
So we're still going to do angle equals half big minus small.
Oh, that was my question. Oh,
But big
is not
is not given, so we have to find it.
So you just do 360 minus 120.
Exactly. So big is 360 minus 120. That's 240. So you do that first, then you find x. So x equals half of 240 minus 120. So 240 minus 120 is 120. Half of 120 is, there we go. So you first have to find this guy. And then you find x. Special.
What could you wrote in this test?
Next one.
I have to take this test like today.
Alright, so look, you see how this kind of looks like a multiplication sign?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you gotta multiply stuff. You're gonna take 20
Times 6.
and multiply by, yeah, like his little friend over here, 6. And then that equals x
Times 8.
times 8. Make sure you're multiplying and not adding. So it gets confusing because some of them you do add and some of them you multiply, so don't confuse them. This one,
I did that on the quiz.
this one looks like a multiplication sign, so that might remind you.
Yeah, but it also looks like a addition sign.
Oh.
You turn it.
Way to ruin it.
Okay, let's go smash it.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Final smash, let's go.
Final smash. Alright. So I multiplied, and then now I'll just divide by 8.
13.
You see, I did do this on the quiz, and I thought like I like a fraction, and then I'm like, wait, am I supposed to have a fraction? So then I got rid of it.
One of them did have a fraction.
Yeah.
But only one.
The first
And then,
Oh, really?
Indeed.
Well, then I failed my whole quiz. No, I'm joking.
Now for this one you do have to add some stuff. So let's see if I can use some color skills.
My foot went numb first. My foot went numb. Like it was like, felt like a bunch of things were stabbing me.
It's a new
I fell asleep.
Yeah. It went numb.
Asleep. But okay.
It went numb.
Never mind.
No, yeah, you should say that.
Well,
It's technically asleep, but I'll let you do it.
Okay. So you're gonna multiply blue times green and then set that equal to pink
That's a
times
green.
yellow.
That's
Yeah.
purple.
That
I mean,
looks
that's
yellow.
that's
Well, it's green.
Now it's green.
Now it's green.
You erase it.
That's purple.
I said
You said
purple on
you erase it.
accident.
I'm colorblind.
I said purple.
Blue.
I was purple.
Anyhow, you get the point.
That's red.
Your mom is red. I don't
Did
know.
you just say your mom is
Maybe. So, alright, so pink is what?
I
Color, I
know
think.
It's a color. It's 10. So you're going to do 10 times yellow. So yellow is the sum of 10 and x. So 10 plus x.
Hold up.
That's that whole piece.
Oh wait, this is on the quiz, right?
Yep.
Okay, I think I did this right.
And then blue is 8. And then green is that whole piece, 8 and 14.
One sec, I'm color coding.
So I can distribute and get 100 plus 10x equals, you can distribute here or not, like you could just do 8 times 22.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I did that. Wait.
But you don't necessarily have to distribute here. You can just do 8 plus 14, which is 22, and then after multiply by 8. So that's 172, I think. No, wait, 176, 16, and 160. Yeah. Then subtract 100, and you get 76.
Look, 110.
And then you can divide by 10. Now, you can either put your answer as a fraction, but if you leave it like this, you can reduce it. So you can divide by 2, and that gives you 38 over 5.
Mhm.
Okay, or since it's 10, when you divide by 10, you can just move the decimal place over once to the left. So that would become 7.6. 76 divided by 10 is 7.6. So you can put it as a decimal if it's easy to do and it terminates. But if it's difficult for you, don't waste your time, just simplify the fraction. If it doesn't terminate and you have to keep going, then it's not worth it. Okay, because then you're just giving a rounded answer.
Ooh.
So 2 possible answers here. All right, number 9. Oh,
Sorry, I was color coding.
It's okay.
Put minus k for my equation, then I also put a little comma.
So you're
But I
snug.
put both.
I didn't
Just
notice.
for an equation.
So first you're going to find the center. So this is the center right here. It's at 0, 3. Okay, so remember when one of the coordinates is 0, you don't have to write x minus 0. You just write x squared. Jasmine, I gave you a bonus point for that
Why?
because you were the only person that remembered it.
Well, I put
On
X
what, the
squared.
quiz?
Oh wait, you graded
Did
that?
you?
Yeah, I put X squared.
Maybe.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah. And then,
I put X squared.
no.
You probably did not.
Yeah, nice.
Oh,
So then we put in the 3, so y minus 3. And then r, you can count because I graphed it, right? So 1, 2, 3. R is 3.
So it's
So it's
R
9.
is 9.
So you're going to put r squared, which is 9.
That's it? Wow.
Ta-da!
Bishop, I almost turned
I thought
my
it was-
quiz in with
I forgot what you
the radius of the circle being 9, and then I went back and checked my work. I'm like, wait a minute, it's supposed to be squared.
Yeah. Okay, then number 10, you're actually graphing it. So for this one, your center is where?
You're
3, 2. No,
No, it's
negative
negative 3.
Negative 3, 2. So that's 1, 2, 3, and then up 2. What's your radius?
2.
2.
No, it's not that.
No,
So,
it is that.
Up
Stop that.
2, down 2,
No.
right 2, left 2. Make sure you go 2 in all 4 directions. And then circle.
My circle wasn't bad.
Wait, can I see my quiz grade? So it can help me for my test tomorrow?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Maybe later.
Can I see it?